Some people don't leave your life because you hurt them. They leave because you finally stopped bleeding for them. Let me tell you the story of Elias. He grew up in a small, close-knit village, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and your business. From a very young age, Elias learned a simple, powerful lesson. Being good meant being useful. Love wasn't something you were given freely. It was something you earned, usually through sacrifice. So, he became the man who never said no. He was the shoulder to cry on, the extra pair of hands for a harvest, the late-night ride home from the next town over. His energy was a public well, and everyone drank from it freely. He spent years explaining himself. "I'm sorry, I'm just so tired today," he'd say, before staying up to help anyway. "I really need to rest," he'd murmur, while already putting on his coat for another errand. Every explanation, every apology for his own human limits, wasn't a boundary, it was a lesson. He was teaching people that they were entitled to his exhaustion, that his well-being was a negotiation they could always win. One bleak winter evening, the air was sharp and the sky was a deep, bruised purple. Elias had just finished a long day, his body aching with a weariness that went bone deep. His phone buzzed. There was another favor, another just this once that he knew wasn't true. He typed, of course, "On my way," and as his finger hit send, something inside him broke. It wasn't loud. There was no dramatic shatter. It was a quiet, clean snap, like a frozen twig underfoot. It was the sound of the last thread of his willingness giving way. The next morning, the sun was weak, and the world seemed muffled by snow. A neighbor knocked on his door. "Elias, my car won't start. Can you give me a lift into the city? I'll be quick." Elias looked at him. He felt the old habit, the familiar guilt, rising in his throat. But this time, something new held it back. He took a breath and said the word, "No." That was it. No explanation, no apology. Just a single two-letter word hanging in the cold air. The neighbor blinked, confused. Then, his face hardened. He muttered something under his breath and walked away. The confusion rippled through the village, quickly turning into anger. "Elias has changed," people whispered. "He's become so cold," his own family said. Friends who had relied on him for years suddenly had no time for him. The invitations stopped. The casual calls ended. His phone fell silent. What followed was the loneliest season of Elias's life. The silence in his house was deafening at first. He was wrestling with a crushing guilt, the ingrained belief that he was being selfish, that he was letting everyone down. He would sit by the window, watching the life of the village go on without him, feeling like a ghost in his own home. But as the days turned into weeks, another feeling began to surface, quietly at first. It was peace, the profound, terrifying calm of choosing himself for the very first time. He realized the silence wasn't empty. It was full of his own thoughts, his own needs, his own quiet presence. He wasn't the village's handyman anymore. He was just Elias. He learned that you don't actually lose people when you set boundaries. You just lose the part of them that was using you. You lose their access to the person you were pretending to be. What you gain, what Elias gained, is your own life. It's a quiet life, maybe a lonelier one for a while, but it's yours, and that is a peace worth fighting for. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more. Take care.